Hi, my name is Daniel Nallen, and this is my audience. Okay, my topic is going to be on diabetes. And diabetes mellitus is a chronic disease that affects how one's body uses blood glucose, whether it is type 1 or type 2. Diabetes is not all just one and the same. There are two different types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 occurs when you don't have any insulin being produced by your pancreas, and type 2, on the other hand, is when you have some insulin being produced, but uh, it's not enough to sustain eating like everybody else or normal meals, so you end up usually having a diet. To tell the difference, or to tell the difference between who has diabetes and who wouldn't have diabetes, a lot of people wear medical bracelets. I have one on me right now, and it has my name on it. It also has medical ID, and on the flip side, it says I'm insulin dependent, so you know I'm a diabetic, and also has contact information if I were to ever get into an accident or if I was unconscious and someone found me, they would know that I'm a diabetic and that they might also have to treat that kind of symptom. So there are differences between people who have type 1 diabetes and people who have type 2 diabetes. They're not one and the same, and many people have a misconception of how diabetes develops and is managed. Many people who don't have an understanding of what diabetes is assumes that people end up with diabetes due to unhealthy lifestyles and eating habits, which is not entirely true. With people who have type 1 diabetes, it is usually develops at a younger age. It's usually developed around an average of 14 years old, and usually happens before you're 40 years old for most people. For type 2, it's the opposite. It usually happens when you get older. It can be genetic and can also be because of unhealthy eating habits, but not always. And pancreatic islet cells quit producing insulin in the quantity needed to maintain normal blood glucose levels, and that's why people end up having diabetes. As stated previously, there's a difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes, and also a misconception of how diabetes develops in people. There are many unknowns when it comes to understanding diabetes, but research and the hope to discover more information are still ongoing. If diabetes is not controlled or monitored correctly, there are many consequences that can come about, even leading to fatality. Some of the consequences could be nerve damage if you don't take care of your blood glucose levels, and leading to potentially amputations. Also, you could have issues with sight, being blurred vision, or also leading to blindness. And that's just to name a few. Some ways that I can take care of my blood glucose levels is through insulin, and since my pancreas doesn't create insulin, I have insulin that I get for prescription, and I can use my syringes to get insulin and put in depending on what I'm eating or what my blood glucose levels are. I used to have to do that a lot when I was a little kid, and up to several times, up to 8 times a day. And in 3rd grade, I got a pump, and I was able to use that instead, so only having to put an insulin shot into me once every 3 to 4 days, and makes it a lot more easier. And I've had diabetes since I was 2, and for the last 18 or 19 years, I've had to deal with it, so it's made it a lot easier. I also have my blood glucose monitor, which I use, and I have a Lancet, which I check my blood levels with, and I do that up to 5 to 8 times a day, and that helps me monitor. There are many complications that can occur due to poor management of blood glucose levels, but the diabetic holds his or her ultimate fate in their hands when it comes to diabetes. To conclude, diabetes is a chronic disease that has 2 different subgroups, type 1 and type 2. And a general misconception of its onsets and management is with the general public. For type 1, again, it's when your pancreas doesn't produce any insulin, and you have to use syringes to put in insulin. With type 2, it's when your pancreas doesn't produce enough insulin, and people usually with that have to take pills or also diet better and not eat certain foods. Also, if you don't take care of your blood glucose levels, you can end up having complications, which could be blindness or blurred vision, and also nerve damage leading to amputations. So to conclude my speech, I'd like to give a quote by an American writer, film star, singer, and songwriter, Dale Evans. And she once said, "Life is not over because you have diabetes. Make the most of it, what you have, and be grateful." So that's what I plan on doing for the rest of my life. Thank you. All right, and this, again, is my audience.